Our final speaker in the competition is Jennifer Wu.
I'm an epidemiologist, and prior to COVID-19, I was often asked if I studied the skin. I would answer no, those are dermatologists. However, I do study how the stress that we experience in our early chapters can get under our skin and influence the stories of our adult health. In my dissertation, I investigated how early life trauma affects three aspects of adult health, namely incident breast cancer, markers of stress management, and how our cells age independent of the number of birthdays we've celebrated. To do this, I used a national study of over 50,000 women who've been followed over the past 15 years in order to capture the stories of their health. And in my first aim, I looked at the relationship between early life trauma and breast cancer, which affects 1 in 8 women in the US. I found no correlation between the number of early life traumas and breast cancer, but women who reported specific combinations of trauma, such as sexual trauma and household dysfunction, were 15% more likely to develop breast cancer than women who reported no or low early life trauma. So you might ask, how can something that occurred so long ago affect a woman's health 30 years later? And part of that answer is that stressful experiences tend to stick with us forever. Our bodies remember through a process called stress embodiment, in which stressors such as natural disasters, neglect or abuse, or even our childhood neighborhood can get under our skin and affect our health. A key part of this process is called DNA methylation, in which methyl groups bind to our genes. And our genes represent this comprehensive instruction manual on how our body should work. And when methyl groups, which we can think of as chemical post-it notes, are added to the manual, it can change the instructions and cause our bodies to malfunction. So in my second aim, I looked at methylation of the stress management gene NR3C1. Although there was no sweeping differences in overall methylation, I did find methylation patterns associated specifically with early life sexual trauma and household dysfunction, similar to my breast cancer findings. And finally, I looked at cellular aging, which differs from chronological age. Cellular aging can be measured by looking at the ends of our chromosomes called telomeres. Every time our cells divide, our telomeres get shorter. And when stressed, our cells divide more frequently, resulting in shorter telomeres and poorer health. In my work, I found that high levels of early life trauma was associated with significant telomere attrition. So in summary, specific types of early life trauma can get under our skin to affect breast cancer, modify stress management genes, and increase cellular aging. We can't change the embodied experiences that we've experienced, but understanding these mechanisms are important to identify potential targets to help mitigate the effects of stress and better understand how we can change the early chapters of the next generation in order to improve the stories of their adult health.